Peace and blessings, family. This is Marcus Muhammad, transformational speaker, diagnosed at birth, HIV positive. And I wanted to share this story because I wanted to share how old I was when I first found out that I was HIV positive and what it was like. Before I go any further, make sure you click the like button. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much. So I was around 6 years old when my mother first sat down and had that conversation with me. And she didn't use the term HIV at that time. She basically said that I had a special condition in my blood and that I had to, strive my best to take care of myself, to eat healthy, to strive to live a long life. She put a lot of love in me. She put a lot of faith in me. Even before I was 6, I do believe I knew something was wrong because I remember going to the doctors much more often than my siblings were going. And one of my earliest childhood memories was me actually waking up in a hospital bed, and I had tubes up my nose and I had the little monitor on my finger. And I remember waking up, and I remember the first thing I did was look to my right, and my mother was asleep on a chair. And so as a young child, I always had the desire to want to be healed and want to use my story to help and heal and inspire others, even before I knew that I had this disease. I think when I was 5 years old, and if you follow my Instagram, you may see that I posted a story of a project that I did when I was probably maybe 4 or 5 years old in Head Start. And the project, we learned about Dr. Martin Luther King, and we had to come up with a quote of his dream that we had. And my dream is to be better and not sick anymore. And that was before I was even sick. So even before I knew I had HIV, I knew something was different about me. I didn't find out about the term HIV, I believe, until I was about maybe 8 or 9, because I believe my mother didn't want to tell me that I was HIV positive, tell a young 6-year-old that. So she just kind of prepped me to, prepare my mind, of my journey. And that was the same age she did share with me also that I was adopted and that my biological mother died when I was young. And just to make it clear, my biological mother didn't die from HIV or AIDS illness. It did impact her life and impacted certain decisions that she made, which could have led to her dying. She wasn't in the best of health because she wasn't managing the HIV, but it wasn't the HIV disease that killed her. She died from something else, which I'll talk about on one of my other videos at another time. Now, as a young child, a 6, 7, 8-year-old, even as a young teenager, I just felt like it was a lot of responsibility on my part. Of course, I had to be very extra careful than any other child, than any of my siblings, because even back then, the doctors and the scientists believe that HIV can be spread through the saliva. If you just, kiss somebody or, someone's saliva gets in their mouth, then you can catch it. And it's not in the saliva. It can be caught through, kissing and stuff, but the person has to have a cut in their mouth, and the other person has to have a cut in their mouth. It has to be exposed, and it has to be blood mixed in the saliva, because HIV, the antibodies may be in the saliva, but the actual disease isn't in the saliva. But back then, all this information wasn't known, and so I had to always make sure my toothbrush was up away from everybody else's, so that way I wouldn't use somebody else's toothbrush or they wouldn't use mine. Not that you would want to, but growing up in a house with, if 4 of us, you want to make sure everybody has their own toothbrush, because if it was, it's nasty to use someone else's toothbrushes, but for me it was like life or death if somebody else used mine, because they could get this disease that I have, and now they can end up sick. I even had to be real careful with where I left my cups to make sure nobody would drink after me, and I would not drink after nobody else, because my mother also didn't want me to get sick. Like if somebody else was sick in my house, like one of my siblings, she didn't want me to be real close to them or to drink after them, because she didn't want me to get sick, because she didn't want me to get sick and end up in the hospital. So it was just those certain things that I had to be very careful of. I also wasn't sure, if I would be able to have a family that didn't have HIV, have children that didn't have HIV. So when I was a young child, I was had the mindset that I would have to marry somebody, that had HIV as well, and then we would have to strive our best, had to have children that were HIV negative, because back then it was more like, if you have it, the other person may have it, and your children may have it. So I always desired to have children that didn't have HIV. So now I'm happily married. My wife is HIV negative, and both my children are as well. I always felt very different. I always loved life. I was always happy. I had my moments where I might have been sad or a little upset, or just asked God, why me? Why did you give me this disease, But I always strive to live my life the best I can, because I knew that I couldn't go back and change the past. So I just had to take what I had and go with it. I had my moments where I was down and I just felt always a little different. Or even as a child, you play around and, when your children like, oh, this person got cooties, or oh, she got AIDS, she got HIV, or he got AIDS, he got HIV. And we're all joking and playing, and somebody may say that and they don't know it, of course. But to me, I used to always have my guard up, like, oh my God, people are literally joking about this thing and they don't even understand it. It was also challenging because I loved life. I wanted to live a long, healthy life. And growing up 7, 8, 9 years old, going to the doctors every few months, it puts in your mind that you might not live that long. So I wasn't sure how long I would live. I wasn't sure if I would live to be an adult. I wasn't sure if I would live a long, healthy lifestyle. Now with this disease, you can live a long lifestyle. They have medicines that can keep one undetectable. Basically, undetectable means that you can't pass the virus. It's not transmittable. You can have children. Obviously, I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving any medical advice. You got to consult with your doctor before making any of these decisions. But there's a lot of misunderstanding when it comes to HIV. Individuals think because one has it, automatically pass it down. Pass it to the spouse or pass it to the children, when that's not necessarily the case. If one is undetectable, the virus cannot be spread to the other person. So much love and honor goes out to my mother, who taught me how to take care of myself, instilled faith in me, instilled the faith of God, love of God, the love of life, and just belief and determination to not let this disease hold me back. Much praise and honor goes to my wife, who accepted me with this disease, pushed out 2 beautiful children for me. So much love goes out to her for standing by my side, because me sharing my story is an intimate story. It's a personal story. I'm letting people inside of my life and inside of our life, because this is her story as well. So much love goes to you all. Anyone that has any kind of affliction, know you will be healed. Speak it into existence. Believe that it is true, and strive to live your best life. Peace and blessings.